In this episode, we're diving into This Is Spinal Tap, the legendary mockumentary that blurred the line between rock stardom and pure absurdity. From exploding drummers to amps that go past 10, this film is still one of the loudest, funniest, and most influential comedies ever made. So plug in, don't touch the Stonehenge, and let's rock.
Get ready for the 3324 podcast, where lifelong friends Dean Legiro and Eric Kuber share their love of all things music and movies. Dean has directed short films and is a music trivia buff. And Eric, trained in audio engineering, brings his extensive knowledge of music and film to the conversation as they discuss, debate, and celebrate their favorite albums, films, and much more.
Welcome, friends, to the 3324 podcast. Happy New Year.
Happy
Eric?
New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
This episode will probably be out since our episodes come out on Thursdays. This will we'll probably release it the day before on New Year's Eve, but it will ostensibly.
Okay.
You know what? We'll just release it on New Year's Day to make it the first one.
There you
I'm not
go.
gonna fool with
First.
that. Yep.
Slide it right in there. Yeah.
We're gonna just
Not a
give
bad
everybody-
choice to start the year
The
off.
first of what will be a great year.
Yeah, the first of we're closing out our 5th year. So we haven't actually
That's amazing.
celebrated our 5th year anniversary, because do you celebrate anniversaries when they start, or you just celebrate the anniversary when the year finishes?
You know,
Right?
that's a good
That's a
point.
good question. That is a good question.
For in podcasting,
I don't know.
right? I mean, in life, after you've been married a year, it's your 1-year anniversary.
Right.
We
Yeah.
started our 5th season earlier this year, but we'll be completing it next year. So
That
we will
makes
have
sense.
completed our 5th season.
Yeah, that makes a lot of
Right?
sense.
You can't count it till you finish it.
It gets
True.
complicated.
Yeah,
That- It's like life, right? life is kind of like that.
podcasting is a metaphor for life.
Yes.
We can do a whole episode on that, but that's
Life
for another
imitates art.
time. We're happy that you're here celebrating the new year with us, 2026. No better guest to kick it off with than Mr. Nick Leshy, who's our resident
The
movie
professor.
professor, resident
Thank you.
movie aficionado. He's got his own gig that he's got going. He's got the Paranormal Popcast, and then he also does the greatest characters in pop culture history podcast. So you get two mints in one
It's been fun.
for your money. So
Double mint
yes,
gum.
indeed.
There you go.
Yeah, congratulations on that, Nick. We'll
and
drop
you
a link.
all are the inspiration. So
Several
just like
episodes in, too. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're all great.
it's been fun.
just like
Thank
Peter
you.
Cetera said, we're the inspiration.
That's true.
We will drop a link in the show notes to Nick's podcast, because he goes deep dive, which is really what I like. And he spends really with one subject and really kind of goes in there, which is a nice yin and yang for what we do. You can get the deep dive, or you can get kind of we kind of tackle it differently, which is why I love listening to his show.
Thank you.
Yeah, because he grabs great guests, myself and Eric included.
That is true.
I think he.
And go over there and definitely give him a follow, give him a like, and subscribe. This way you get notified when new stuff comes out. So, all right, enough of that. Enough of the housekeeping. We're here. We're doing this. We're doing This Is Spinal Tap. It's been on the list. It's something that we've wanted to do, but
Yeah.
we tragically lost Rob Reiner, and so many people in the wake of, in the aftermath of his passing, many people did not realize actually how many films he directed, and what some of them were. When I was talking to people, they're like, "Oh, Rob Reiner, oh my God," but I was like, "Yeah, A Few Good Men." They're like, "Few Good Men?" I'm like, "Yeah, he directed A Few Good Men." Like,
Yep.
He's known, like Princess Bride is the one, Eric, right? That kind of really rises to the top, especially now. It's in its renaissance.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely.
In the past 10 or 15 years.
And this one, too. This is his debut.
Yeah. This is his first.
But what a banger.
Yeah.
And it's such a succession of great hits. I think the first 5 of his films were just, I mean, box office wise, maybe not moderate successes, but they were popular. They really touched
Yeah.
Something about each of those films touched somebody, and he'll be missed. I mean, it's such a loss. It's such a loss.
And Nick, he's a reliable director.
Yeah.
He's not an auteur. He's not a Spielberg, and he wasn't ever trying to be, but he was a very stable and reliable director. And he knew he had a genre that he kind of stayed within for the most part.
I mean, that's one thing though. Like he was a little bit more diverse than just kind of like you see Spike Lee movies, you see, other directors that even Spielberg, you see a movie and you're like, that's a Spielberg film. That's a Spike Lee movie. With him, it was like he dabbled in comedy, with Spinal Tap and When Harry Met Sally, and Princess Bride was funny. But then he did things like Misery and Stand By Me and The American President, and you said A Few Good Men, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. And that was so dramatic and so pitch perfect, So I mean, he was a great director. You're like, where did he get it from? I mean, his dad obviously was a great entertainer and great filmmaker in his own right, Carl Reiner. But
I kind of
he just was great.
I kind of think of him as the type of director that kind of stays out of the way.
Yes,
right. Like he gets the job done, and there's not a particular, and maybe I don't know if there's any interviews asking him, is there a Rob Reiner style? But I don't think there is. I think he adapts himself to the material that he's working. He's very competent. He knows what to do, and he's one of the few people, especially back then, that made the leap from television. It like back then it was you couldn't do it. You were a TV, and especially with something iconic as Mike Stivic, Meathead.
Yeah.
Like such an indelible character in the 70s. Like he was, you want to talk about putting a box, right? You want to talk about typecast for the rest of your life, but he was able to not parlay it into movies, like become a movie star. He was able to parlay it into movies going behind the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And proving himself.
I don't remember ever seeing him in anything but All in the Family at the time. I mean, you literally made that leap into doing something so whimsical and funny, but also a lot of research went into it. Like he understands the process of filming, and I think he probably paid attention while on the show, and the different aspects of and again, knowing how to pick the right people to do the job was key. And I think we'll get into that a little bit with this one too. So, but
all right. Well, let's get into this. Yeah, like Eric said, this was his debut film. This is Spinal Tap, and what a curious way to. Well, you know what? It's almost not surprising that this was his entree into filmmaking, because he almost had to backdoor his way in, because no one would he couldn't get financing for this. It was kind of a weird idea.
Yeah,
it really no script to speak of, and that's why they ended up, they couldn't even pitch a script, because they're like, we'll make a short film to kind of show you what this is going to be about, but we don't really have a script to show you because there's not really one. But let's do the stats first. If you're new to us in 2026, we give you some statistical information right at the front, at the top, to kind of ground our conversation, and then we go off into the crazy stuff. So this was released in March of 1984, directed by Rob Reiner. Written by Rob Reiner, Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer. And let me add a little piece to that right away. Because this, Nick probably knows what I'm going to say. Because this movie was almost all improvised down to each performer, Rob Reiner wanted each cast member to get a writer's credit. And the Directors Guild, or whoever it was,
Writers Guild
was like, no, you're not. We can't. You're not doing
that. Would have been hilarious, though.
Yeah, it would have been the longest.
Just everybody's names coming down.
Yeah, probably would have been the longest writer's credit. But he really wanted to do it because everybody really made their own characters. Literally that much improv. A $2 million budget, which was largely financed by Norman Lear. He was the guy that really backed it. They could not get financing. And back then, it made only $5.8 million in the box office. And this was a grower, not a shower. This movie was really nothing. It was when it came out, it was very quirky. People, what I wrote down, and you got, I'll kick it to you guys. This was kind of put in the same box as the Airplane films. because Airplane was like that satire of another genre.
Mm-hmm.
And This Is Spinal Tap was kind of put in that because it was a satire of something, but it wasn't like an Airplane film. But
No.
that's where that's where it kind of landed when people were talking about it.
Yeah.
Was like, oh, it's like kind of like Airplane-ish, where it's a parody of this. But it was something more.
But it didn't feel like that, did it? I mean, because it was just so well done. I mean, he drew from all the great documentarians of the time, including Martin Scorsese. His character is actually based on Martin. And I think at first Scorsese wasn't a big fan of that aspect of it, from what I understand. I think I read that somewhere. But he grew to love the film. He appreciated what he was doing. And, it was movies like The Last Waltz and the Bob Dylan documentary with the Pennymakers and but I mean, you watch this movie and you're convinced that this could be a real band. I mean, the footage is just so beautifully shot, even like the older footage of them as a folk band or as a
flower power band,
psychedelic thing. It was so convincing, because it looked like actual footage. It was just that attention to detail. I think that's what really put it over the top as just, I think, what a formidable debut for someone who's, coming into this, like not really knowing what it is and just sort of like going with it and playing off of each other and just hours of footage were shot. And they just, it's surprising to me in revisiting how actually short it is.
Yeah.
I'm actually amazed how like, oh my God, it's over already.
Yeah. I wrote before I kick it over to Nick, I wrote good things come in small packages.
Yeah.
This movie's like an hour and 22 minutes, but you don't need it to be, you don't need to belabor you can overstay your welcome.
Yeah.
And that's and maybe Nick, that's what maybe, and that's probably what the good thing, what the really good thing about Spinal Tap is to background what Eric said. They shot over 100 hours of footage, and this was shot on 16 millimeter, so it really wasn't even shot on a big time cameras. But from an actor standpoint, Nick, do you think this is one of the finest examples of pure improv captured on film? Because all they did, I'll set it up for you, is all they really, Rob Reiner gave them, said, here's the beginning of the scene, here's where we need to end, just so you don't kind of go off, go stepping on each other too much. What I mean, and then 100 hours later, so.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about improv is like you need people that know how to do it. I mean, you see some of these scenes, and I'm like, if I was in there hearing that for the first time, I would be cracking up. I that's my problem with improv. It's like I can't stop laughing. I hear something, and you've got talented people who know each other, who work well together. You got cameos in there by like Billy Crystal and Dana Carvey, and like 2-second blink and you'll miss them. Like I would love to have seen like the hours and hours of their like improv and what they would have done. Like I haven't seen a lot of the the cut scenes and the cut footage and things like that. But yeah, they give them like, this is where the scene begins, this is where it ends, take us there. And a lot of this, they've worked some of these bits backstage, together. Like, so they literally sat there and thought about the character's background and history. So like when they were doing those fake interviews, they didn't know what questions were going to be asked, but they kind of already had in their mind these like funny scenarios about how the drummers died and all this other stuff, and so it just comes out like just straight face, Well, and it's hilarious. It's hilarious.
I'm glad you brought up the interview. They kind of interspersed the interview footage, the one where Christopher Guest is wearing the kilt, and you can see Michael McKean. Sometimes they either cut away or cut in, and he's smiling.
Yeah,
they cut. Like I think they probably did the best they could and got it as close as they could, and hoped nobody would notice. But he is absolutely sometimes like smiling, especially like when they went over the record reviews.
Yes, that's what
like
I was
shark sandwich, and he's like shit sandwich. Like they had no clue that was
that can't be real.
and on they say on the seventh day God took a break. Why couldn't he have taken a break when they made this album as well? Like you just like so yeah, like but that's the good thing about it, is you're getting that genuine smut. Like if you were doing that, if you were interviewing somebody and they heard that about their album, they might like laugh a little about it, right? So
Yeah.
so I like, the beauty of it is, they kind of knew where they were going, but not totally prepared for everything. So you get that combination of sharp comedic wit, expert timing, and ability to think on your feet, especially Christopher Guest. Like he kind of,
he's a master. Yeah,
and they know how to play music. They're musicians too. That you can't take. It's not just a comedian going up there and pretending. And I heard, like, when they were watching some of the footage, and they were editing hundreds of hours of footage. Sometimes you don't get. He was like, "No, let's do that again," because my fingers weren't it didn't match the music that you're dubbing. Like, so they're really talented musicians, and they wrote these songs and they played together. And
good.
They're so good.
The lyrics are kind of out there, but the music is great.
Yeah.
And I love how each time you see them, it's a different type of rock. It's like they cover the gambit of, like,
proggy,
metalhead, or they'll do like a sort of like a Motorhead kind of thing, and then you get the glam sort of hair metal thing going, and then of course the proggy thing, and the pretentious. Ask any, like, I would dare say, ask any probably member of any famous band, and they probably say, yeah, that's the way it really is, because it's just so convincing, and that's what they captured, was the absurdity of this kind of thing, of rock and roll. Just is so convincing.
Let me give Eric one of the lyrics from Big Bottom. The looser the waistband, the deeper the quicksand. And what I noticed about that song, when they do Big Bottom, all of them are playing bass. I never noticed before.
Intentionally, yeah.
They're all playing. It's not a guitar song. It is all bass.
And again, it's just those kinds of details that just
that they just you don't realize.
Yeah.
But to go back to what you said about like the scene when they get lost, when they're in the cellar,
one of my favorite scenes.
That's based on something that happened to Tom Petty.
Okay,
that actually happened to Tom Petty, where he got lost and he ended up walking out, and he ended up outside on a tennis court. So some of these things are real. And then, like you said, Eric, a lot of these bands have said, you know what, this hits close to home.
Yeah.
Meaning this is a little too, like, some artists weren't too fond of it, but then they kind of grew to understand it.
Yeah.
Even to the point that Metallica, their Black album, James Hetfield said that was an homage to Spinal Tap, Sniff the Glove, when they made the album cover just black. Metallica's like, this is our nod to that. Like, we did that. You can kind of see the snake on their album a little bit, but that's how far and wide and far reaching this thing became. And it is almost treated, like Eric said, like it's treated more as a documentary and less like a film.
Yeah.
I watch it. I don't watch it with, like, movie watching eyes. I watch it with, like, documentary eyes.
Absolutely. You think you're getting something. You get some kind of, like, twisted knowledge or something. Sort of. Critics were convinced that they, Siskel and Ebert said as much. They were. It took a long time for me to realize that this is not a real band, and this stuff, But yeah, I mean, just because it's so, and yet it's completely from a guy like Rob Reiner's case, that it's so understated in that sense. Like, as a director, like, he just put it out there. This is it. This is what what we got, and it's just sometimes the most thought out stuff can be the most sort of gut wrenching, or just doesn't work.
Yeah,
here it's the overthought. Yeah, exactly. This was just I mean, not to say that it wasn't hard work, but it was just especially in the improv case. And Nick, you're into acting. I mean, how much improv did you actually have to do in terms of some of your acting, and I mean,
you always go into it being like, if you go up on a line and you forget, you have to go with it. So you have to have some improvisational skill to, like, make sure that the audience doesn't figure out that you're faking it, But in this case, it's like it's just such an art form, and I think what works is that he hired Rob Reiner hired the cinematographer who's done documentaries. Yeah. So they were filming it like a documentary. So the cinematographer didn't even know where the scene was going to start or where it was going to end. It was just like, let's film this scene. We're in, it's a party, or we're backstage, or it's on stage. So they were just filming hours and hours and hours of footage. And it's those kinds of, when people see it, a lot of people are just in disbelief that it's not a documentary. Like some people even thought it was a real band, and they went to Rob Reiner and they're like, couldn't you have picked a more famous band? This is a great movie, but the band.
I had
never heard of Spinal Tap before, until I saw your documentary about them.
The cinematographer in question, he filmed the Altamont. He was there. He was one of the cameramen with the Stones. The murder that happened, tragic. But he went to Rob Reiner apparently and said, "I don't see the humor in this. This is supposed to be a satire, and we're filming it as if." And Rob Reiner said, "Yeah, I mean, there are times when we do take it in that, over the top, and you got to kind of, And then after seeing it, putting it together, he realized that, I could see what you're doing here. But at first, it was like Nick was saying, and just the hours and hours of footage of just trying to capture everything, including when they did the jazz thing, the jazz fusion,
Jazz Odyssey,
and the guys doing this, Rob Reiner commented saying, or actually he was interviewed by Patton Oswalt on the new Criterion release. So they re-released it. So there's an interview with Patton Oswalt, and he's asking, what's so brilliant about that is that you actually filmed that. But what's even more brilliant is that you left it in, and like with the guy doing this, and it's like, because that's just, that's what what they did.
Yeah.
That's
what you would think.
So, right, exactly. So,
yeah. I had the opportunity to actually take some improv classes.
Okay.
And it's not easy.
I wouldn't think
it's
so.
Not just making stuff up. You have to be an active listener, right? I mean, Nick can tell you have to be an active listener and know when not to talk.
Yeah. And not to contradict the other actor. What they're throwing at you, you got to go along with it. You can't contradict it, or you can't, break character. It's just, it's hard. Not everybody has that skill set, Yeah.
So to have 4 people, ostensibly 5, you have 4 members of a group mainly, or, because sometimes Viv would be there, the keyboardist, or the drummer. And then you have Marty DeBerge, who Rob Reiner plays. So you've got, it's not like a one-on-one improv where it's just one person tossing to you. You've got 4 people that, Harry Shearer will throw in. He doesn't say much. He's kind of like Ringo, but he'll just throw in one thing occasionally, but it'll be brilliant. It'll be like just like that type of thing, like very droll or very matter of factly. And so it's not just about improving. It's also about developing a character that is true to the way they act also. Yeah. So it's probably, Nick, it's probably easier for you to get a script and for someone to tell you what the character is and what what their motivations are, as opposed to you have a character, but you don't know what's going to be thrown, which will got to be exciting too.
That's why to make a movie, you need some path, you need some direction. So like, it's good to know where you want to land, where you want to end, and I think in this case, that whole thread about them kind of breaking up and then getting back together, it worked as a narrative, and those are the best documentaries when you see that there is a storyline. It's not just, we're just shooting everything and throwing it up there and seeing what sticks.
Right.
It's like the documentarian turns the footage into a story, finds that. And so there has to be that thread, and, the 4 people who get the screenwriting credit, they're the ones that came up with, the characters and the plot. So, I mean, that's why the Writers Guild is like, you guys have to be up there. But everything else was like, they had no idea when they started filming where some of those gags were coming from, or those all came from the different actors, Fred Willard as, just some of those lines, just, even the little ones, like, Paul Schaefer's cameo, like, kick my ass. It's my fault.
Kick this man's ass for me. Will you do me a favor? So let me roll off the cameos, and you'll tell me if I missed any. In no particular order, Bruno Kirby as the limo driver with the whole Frank Sinatra thing.
So good.
It's like, these people just don't understand. When you've lived and loved like Frank, Billy Crystal, Dana Carvey, they're the 2 mimes. Mime is money. Let's go. uh, Fran Drescher, who that's less of a cameo, she's more of a character. Paul Schaefer is Artie Fufkin. Paul Benedict from the Jeffersons.
Yes,
he's the hotel guy.
Yeah,
such a small scene, but so perfect.
And to the great Tony Hendra as Ian Faith, he just really rips into that guy. He's like, we were supposed to have 7 suites on the first floor. He said we have 1 suite on the 7th floor. He's like, what the hell am I going to do with that? How am I going to put 14 people in this?
It's a big suite.
Poor guy.
Paul Benedict. Howard Hessman was in that same scene.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, we got to go. We got to go sit in the lobby and wait for the limo instead of talking to them. Angelica Houston with the Stonehenge.
Yeah.
The designer of Stonehenge, and Fred Willard, who was in charge of the Air Force Base. Just amazing. Again, but when you get this, everybody understood the assignment, and they probably loved playing in this sandbox, because it's just all these different colorful characters that I think we got to talk about Tony. Tony Hendra as Ian Faith is also a big part of this. He probably has the most structured role, even though it probably was improv, but he's kind of like, he's not allowed to be like weird and off the cuff. He's the manager. He's the tour manager. He's always got to be breaking bad news. We were canceled here and canceled here. And this is a college town. They don't get it, so he's really good too. He's just a solid, his arc is part of the story as well, right? When they, when the girlfriend flies into town and, it was recorded in Dublin. And forgets like Dublin, recorded it in Dublin. Like he was so facetious to her because you can see that, and they always put the camera on him when she's talking, and just to get his looks and his reaction. He wasn't like, he didn't hate her, but there was like that little jealousy of she's coming and like of him, his relationship with David St. Hubbins, Michael McKean. So any opportunity he had to like stick it to her, and the doubly scene is really great because he's like, Dublin? And she's handing out the horoscopes and he's like, yeah, I got one. He's wearing like the cowboy hat, reading Car and Driver. He's like, he was so like disconnected at that point. But the cameos are just fan. It's just fun. Back then that, Bruno Kirby was only known probably for Godfather 2 at that point, really. Right. He wasn't huge. Billy Crystal was Dana Carvey was a nobody in 81. He was SNL was still years away, and Paul Schaefer wasn't with Letterman yet. I don't think.
Nope.
That was pre-Letterman. So Paul Benedict was recognizable for, from the Jeffersons, and Howard Hessman from WKRP. But
you had Ed Begley Jr. as the first
drummer,
right?
I forgot to write him.
Patrick McNee as Sir Dennis, so many, it's just great, good stuff.
Yeah, how they just populate the universe with these people, and then the whole thing with the cold sores, like they both have in one interview, they both have like cold sores on their lips because they're probably with the same woman. It's just like kind of like there's such small details.
Yeah, and that's an example of this whole other subplot that was cut from the movie. Yeah. So there's hours and hours of footage, so you can't throw all that stuff in. But so that was the scene. You see the cold sore and everything.
Yeah, it was it kind of just leads you to assume, like,
apparently a punk band that was touring with them, and the lead singer of this punk band was part of the Runaways. She was so she was with like. That's where they got it from. The herpes was with her, except the drummer at the time, the younger guy with the
Mick Shrimpton. Yeah. And it's funny. There's even a little Easter egg when Mick Shrimpton blows up, and they show the new drummer. His name is Joe Besser.
Yeah,
Joe Besser was a real person. He was actually the replacement for Curly in the Three Stooges. Joe Besser, Curly Joe. So that's the little Easter egg that Joe, this guy is the replacement for the drummer, and his name, Curly, and Joe Besser was the replacement for Curly in the Three Stooges. So that's just smart, like, nice little nuggets for like the geeky people that really kind of like, kind of really look for that.
And all the drummers they've been through, like losing, and that's become a thing. Like some bands who've gone through a bunch of drummers, they like get Spinal Tap, And then even J.K. Rowling, when she was doing Harry Potter, she said she was inspired by the drummers stuff, the changing drummers, to have like the teacher of dark arts. Every book has a different teacher, and they don't come back. Like, so the inspiration that this movie has had on pop culture is just incredible.
Yeah. And then
and-
Christopher Guest kind of parlayed this, right, into Waiting
everything
for Guffman,
else he did. Yeah.
Waiting for Guffman, A Mighty Wind, Best in Show, and For Your Consideration. So he kind of got the bug for that, and really kind of, it almost makes you think, did Rob Reiner do these? Because it's the same style of that. There's an ensemble, there's pretty much a moving ensemble almost.
That was, I think, his tribute to Rob Reiner. He's like, I'm going to dedicate myself to doing this thing again and again. This is what I want to do. Like, and they're all great. Yeah. All of those films are funny as hell. I mean, the same kind of humor, of course, forget about the cameos in each of those too. I mean, it's just that group, that ensemble of people working with the same people all the time.
I think Best in Show. What do you think? I think Best in Show is
it's funny as hell. Yeah, I love that one too.
Because he plays the guy. Christopher Guest plays the guy with the hound dog, and he's also like a ventriloquist. He's like doing ventriloquism also. It's just kind of so weird, just so often. And he's got a really great Southern accent. It's just
he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Jamie Lee Curtis had said she fell in love with him on the spot because I think this was right on the heels of Halloween. At the time she did just done Halloween, and I think it was who was the producer on Halloween. She was good friends with the producer on it, and she was good friends with Chris Guest. So she knew him. So that's how they met. And she goes, I'm going to marry this guy. And she, of course, did a mere months, met him, and they got married. I think it was 4 or 5 months, so
wow.
And they've been
and
together.
Then he was the doctor in Few Good Men.
Yeah.
Yep. He was.
Right. So he worked with Rob again. And this was just, it almost seems like the Princess Bride had the same trajectory. Princess Bride was a modest hit when it came out. It wasn't huge.
Yeah.
It was kind of, but it's grown in people's love for it, and so maybe there's something, I'm waiting for North to have its renaissance. I loved North by Rob Reiner. I thought it was such a great film that nobody has ever seen. Elijah Wood was so fantastic. It was such a weird movie. I'm waiting for it to have its renaissance, and maybe, hopefully, it will. But maybe that's the charm of Rob Reiner. Is that it's so unassuming that it then becomes these things just become eternal. People finally grab onto them when they see it.
Like I said, there's always something that people can relate to. Something that there's a certain sense of oddness about some of the characters or whatever, or even a particular genre. In the case of Princess Bride, it's what is this thing? I remember our friend John was obsessed with that movie. I think for a full week, 2 weeks, I'm like, hey, what'd you do? I watched Princess Bride.
There's a bunch of people out there.
He was like, he watched that movie literally every night for 2 weeks straight. And it was like, are you kidding me? He's like, no.
As you wish.
Funny. Have you seen it? It was like, I was like, I hadn't seen it yet. I was like, no, I watched it and I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's that kind of it's funny, but it's jam packed with action,
quirky.
Yeah. And we definitely need to do that down the line, of course. But it's just, absolutely. I don't want to get too far into it, but it's just such a brilliant film.
But it's interesting how Christopher Guest his career then went into these kind of mockumentary style comedies. But, Rob Reiner was doing these adaptations, taking these interesting stories, whether it's Stephen King stories or, Princess Bride or things like that, and turning them into these movies that are very different in many ways from the source material. Even A Few Good Men, if you watch the stage play that it's based on, very different in some ways. It's the movie itself is just kind of give credit to Rob Reiner for just bringing that to life and turning it into what it was.
Also, Shawshank, he had because he co-created Castle Rock Entertainment. He got Seinfeld.
That's true.
He was a producer on Seinfeld. Got that. He was, Castle Rock. And he wanted to do Shawshank, Rob Reiner. He wanted Harrison Ford. And he wanted Tom Cruise as Red, and Harrison Ford playing Red and Tom Cruise as Andy. but Frank Darabont wanted to do it, and he was so like chomping at the bit to do it, and he was so gracious, and he said, "You go for it."
Yeah.
And of course, it became what it became. But it's like, but he had a hand in just handing it over and saying, "Here you go." So we got to credit him there too.
Yeah, one of those great what ifs. And then Spinal Tap kind of I think the memification of, well, this goes to 11.
Yeah.
I think that kind of helped, like people like, oh, I've heard that before. I didn't know it was in this movie. Like, like things going to 11, or on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you like this? It was an 11. Like, that's Spinal Tap. Like that whole, like, anybody that ever said something was an 11 when, how was that hot dog on a scale of 1 to, oh my God, it was an 11. That's Spinal Tap. Like that's how I was saying that before that.
That's how I discovered the movie. Because I'll be honest, I was a kid. I didn't see it at the movie theater. All my friends, I think, saw it for the first time on VHS, and especially my friends who were in bands themselves and wanted to be musicians and loved, rock and roll. They would say those kinds of references, and they would say it's at 11, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I saw the movie because everybody's talking about it, and that's, you're like, that scene is just pivotal. It's one of the greatest scenes ever.
The whole lead up with the guitars.
Yes.
He's like, don't touch it. He goes, I didn't touch it. He goes, don't even look at it. like we're you don't.
But like, that's the interplay. It's like
it's
like
it's Marty's like, did you hear it? You hear it? The stain.
I don't hear anything. It's like
you go out and come back.
If you what?
You go out and come back, and it's. It's just it is a work of genius.
It's almost like it should be scripted. You're like, are you sure you didn't write it? Are you sure you weren't following a script? Because it builds and it follows, and it's a sign of good improv. Like they play off each other.
Would it have been as good if it had been scripted?
Yes.
I wonder.
No, definitely not.
But it's not just like one actor doing a bit, like a monologue.
You can't help
it's the two of them interplaying, and it's building, and they go to the punchline.
Exactly.
That's
it might have been too, how far do we take the humor? And there is where the sort of airplane stuff could have came in and made it that kind of humor, and just sort of like, really kind of slapstick and over the top, and just be, no, I don't think it would have been half as good.
Well, you also got to think 100 hours of footage.
And a lot of that footage,
we have an hour and 22 minute film.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, there was probably just a lot of workshopping.
Yeah. A lot of that stuff didn't land. It was just nonsense. It was
see where it goes. Let's just see where it goes. Like, let's just put the camera on.
Yeah.
And but that's the way documentaries are as well, right? They just film everything.
Yeah, and see what they can find, what little nuggets.
Yeah, they pick out some of the warts to show you, and they pick out some of the triumphs, and that's exactly what it does. It follows literally the same aesthetic, right? For a documentary, as I've learned, you can't just shoot exactly what you want. You got to kind of shoot, and see what you get.
Yeah, now you see that in reality shows too. Like sometimes the editing is what makes it so compelling. And some of the people were like, well, that didn't really happen. Like they showed my reaction and it made it look like I was angry at them. So even this, like you mentioned, the cutaways to like Christopher Guest's character, it's like that makes it funny. The rolling of the eyes, or just kind of like the smirk, when he's saying
I like the cutaways to Rob Reiner.
Yes,
every time you see Rob Reiner, he's making some kind of weird, like different face, like he's like, or he's like this weird grin, like, like they're making some kind of funny, it's at that point, it's just the humor is rolling off, and he's just so deadpan, but it's a different face every single time. Next time you see it, you have to just, watch Rob Reiner.
And he's definitely in the Martin Scorsese Last Waltz interviewer mode. If you've ever seen The Last Waltz, Martin Scorsese is just kind of like a guy sitting there and just rolling off very conversational questions, and so if you've seen, for me, it was like, that was the main vibe I got from Rob Reiner's Marty DeBurgi was Scorsese's kind of very matter-of-factual type of interviewing style that he had in The Last Waltz, about follow-up questions and what does this mean? And you had all these people in the band, and why did that happen? Why did you go through so many drugs? Or the one question was when after Christopher Guest left and he's interviewing Michael McKean, he's like, Michael McKean's like, yeah, I don't think we'll miss him. We've had 37 people in the band, and Rob Reiner's like, but those were like drummers. Like, this is the guy. He's like, yeah, well, I might feel different if it wasn't so heavily medicated. And that's just like that. That's like,
and then when they try to perform, there's only like 3 songs they can do.
Yeah,
it seems
like it's very emblematic of the seven of like what was going on back then. Like people took drugs and they did not shy away from the fact that they were high during things, or or on pills or something.
There's the great Stonehenge sequence when the disaster that turned out to be, and of course the great the manager's like going like what the like 15 18 inches. It's like, but that's what he wrote down. That's what he gave me.
2 little halves instead of 1.
Angelica Houston, and then when they interview Michael McKean, he says, yeah, but that's what he does, is because that he's expected to fuck up, like to make that mistake, because he's just so dim, he just, that's him, that's just Nigel, it's something to that effect.
Yeah, he's like, we expect him to not know what he's doing.
That's his job.
Your job is to know that he doesn't know what he's doing.
Your job is to fix it.
And then Tony Hendricks like, my job is to execute the desire of the creative element of this band. Like, he totally stonewall. Like, he had his own excuses. Like, that's not my decision. You guys are the creative people. You give it to me. My job is to make come true what you give me. Yeah. And then they're deciding what to do is like, it was should we bring it out again, or should we just keep the little people away from it? Like Harry Shearer's like, maybe we should just keep them away from it so they don't hit it. And like just that little aside, like little side.
It doesn't work when the little people are almost like breaking it or stomping on it. They're crying.
Yeah. They're being trod upon.
And then he's trying to
dwarf.
And then he's trying to come up with a way to like do it better the next time. And he's like, we're not going to do it. We're not doing Stonehenge. But you mentioned, Dean, Marty's role in it, like as the scene with Bruno Kirby in the limo when he's telling the story, and you think that's the scene because then the mirror, the window just keeps going up slowly to cut him off, and you think that's the punchline. But then you see Marty kind of jump in with follow-up questions, and the story keeps going on. It's so perfect. Just so perfect.
Another nice moment is when Nigel is playing that nice little bit on the piano, and he's like Rob Reiner's just like hovering, and he's just kind of, that's very pretty. Yeah. That's really nice. Like as the Scorsese, like that's the way he.
Yeah, it's like, D minor, the saddest chord ever. It'll make you cry.
Saddest key of all the keys, and
just chords just kind of laying over each other. It's like, well, what do you call this piece? Lick My Love Pump. Like totally deconstructed the whole scene in one shot. Like,
oh my God, so deadpan, so right on. Like, just without skipping a beat, just right.
Because he's playing this beautiful, and you see him actually playing. So it's like, wow, this is like a tender thing, and Lick My Love Pump.
Lick My Love Pump, and without a hesitation, that's the answer, and it's great, so great.
Yeah,
it is great.
It's just one. Yeah, this. I when they announced that they were making a sequel,
I still haven't seen it.
I wasn't down for it. It's not for me. They had like little comebacks throughout the last 40 years that like they would pop up and they would do like the Return of Spinal Tap, or they would the Super Bowl or something, like little one-off things that were on The Simpsons. And then they announced this, and I'm just kind of like, like now you're trying.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like this, Spinal Tap was kind of like lightning in a bottle. It was like, this is kind of an experimental thing. We got some funding. Let's do it. And now especially 40 years, whatever, I think there's a little too much distance in the rearview mirror, because you're too self-aware of now the impact of Spinal Tap, the impact of the film. I think the expectations are probably too much to live up to. These guys are 40 years older.
Yeah.
Eric, was there any interest in, did you see it or
not really? Because like everything else, I mean, I'm just that's just the culture today, is everything is being retouched, redone, sort of revisited. There's the heavy nostalgia of it, and sure, why not Spinal Tap? So of course they're coming, and of course, and you're right. It would have been too much like they're trying at this point, and that could have been. Is it as heavily improv as the first one? I don't know.
Good question.
I don't know.
Nick,
so
what do you think?
I mean, I saw the trailer and I loved the trailer, but it felt like
I saw the trailer. I was like, oh
no. I thought it was funny, like the trailer, but it felt like it would have worked as a commercial, like a Super Bowl commercial. They come back and did that, so I didn't have an interest to go see the movie. But now that Rob Reiner's gone, I might check it out just to, because the first one is so funny, and I like them. The cast is they're likable, and I'd like to see what they did. This is probably is this his last film? I don't know.
Yeah.
Did he do anything after this one? I don't know if he still had anything in the works that he was working on or anything, but I'd like to check it out.
It might have worked had it not, like I said, it's when everything is being retouched, it might have worked if it had just existed on its own thing like that. Just decided to do it 40 years later. That might have been a thing, but when you're looking around the landscape, it's just you can't help but feel. I know I get a little jaded that way. I don't know about you guys, but it's just
And I love that they're still working though, like they were still working. I mean, because Michael McKean, I went to see him in the Broadway show The Best Man by Gore Vidal, and he was great in it. And then like literally a week later, he got hit by a car and broke his leg. And they were like, he still wanted to go on and perform. Like, here's a guy who was like, he would never miss a gig. He would never miss a performance, and it took him breaking his leg and being in the hospital to finally be like, okay, I guess I can't perform tonight. He is. It's just constantly working.
Consummate actor. He's a great actor too. His role in Better Call Saul is absolutely heartbreaking. If you've ever seen the show, it's just he plays his older brother, and it's just he's so good in that show. He, for me, it's like what made that show almost as good, if not better, than Breaking Bad. So
and then he got his musical chops from Lenny and the Squigtones.
Yes,
from Laverne and Shirley. Again, another guy that kind of transcended that. Talk about again another typecasted role of Lenny and Squiggy from Laverne and Shirley, and totally remade himself. In this film, unrecognizable to that character. Totally showed that he's not a one-off character that's going to be forgotten from a beloved sitcom, that was able to really, I wonder how he got inserted into that. Like, cause Harry Shearer and Christopher Guest seem like they're like they seem like they kind of run in the same circles, and,
Penny Marshall. Could be Penny Marshall.
Yeah, that's right. Because she was married to Rob Reiner at the time.
Right.
So
so she could have had an influence, or perhaps they knew, mutual friends or whatever.
That's true. But apparently they played music together too. Like that was it. Like they would just do these kind of funny bits, and they were musicians, and it was like, that's here's an idea. Let's film this. Let's make a movie out of this. Who's going to give us money to fund it? It's like, let's just film a little bit of it and show them. It's like that's the only.
And again on 16 millimeter. So this is really like guerrilla filmmaking. This was not a studio that was really behind it. It was like I said, Norman Lear said, "Here's $2 million. Go do what you got to do, and we'll see what happens." And like I said, back then it kind of came and went. It was well reviewed, and Siskel and Ebert loved it at the time, but it just didn't get the traction, and it was it was one of those ones that was kind of incubating and waiting for like rock and roll to kind of realize that that's what it was, and for these types of films to be rediscovered. And home video did a lot. I mean, home video kind of really
probably a lot of midnight screenings. I would think,
like really
shows.
Video really brought it back.
So, did we already do all of our favorite scenes? I mean, this is just it's an hour and 22 minutes of just scene after scene. Like there's not.
Yeah, I can name like 3 or 4 of my favorite
I was watching. I'm like, there's not a lull. Like there's always something. there's nothing really happens in this movie, but there's always something happening. Like it's really they're going out on tour is all they're doing, and they're trying to release a record. You know,
it's very well paced. It's very well edited. Yeah. It's just it flows. But I mean, the scenes just kind of blend into one another. I like the way they break away to do the concert footage, and then they do the interview footage, and then they sort of skip
and they go back.
Yeah. Very formatted in that way. You would think, oh, this has got to be scripted. It's got to be somebody had to have organized it as such, but no. Yeah. You know, it's amazing that
they have like a starting point. You know, like when Nigel has his diva moment, and they have the sandwiches, right? And he's complaining. And so, like, I can't fold them. Like, well,
he keeps folding the bread, and it's a bit. Like, no, you don't fold the bread. But look at this, it's crumbling.
And he's like, I'm a professional. I'm not complaining. You know, it's like, and it goes on. Then he must have done that for like a half hour, and those are like the little bits that they pulled out of it. You know, and then you talked about the scene where they get lost backstage, and that alone is funny. But then the punchline is like they come back where they started. Yeah.
The guy's like working on the boiler still. He's like, "What are you guys doing? Like, what are you guys doing here?"
It's just laugh out loud.
Once they get the direction, it's like, they get their energy, like rock and roll, and then they come back around, and the guy is standing there, like, "Oh, you guys must have took a wrong turn." They're like, "Oh," like they, their energy, like just like
Cleveland
again, Let's go. And just quickly, one of the funny scenes is when they meet the young rock and roller, and he's very dismissive, and they're like, well, his album had like women and whips and chains and why wasn't it a problem? And they're like, well, it was him that was being tortured and whipped, and I think one of them's like, it's a fine line between like
stupid and clever.
It's like, it's just that little turn. That little, they were amazed, like they were philosophizing about it, like just that little turn that makes all the difference. It's like, they could just analyze anything and kind of get a nugget of wisdom out of it, as if that probably wouldn't have done much for them anyway. But that's the brilliant. This is a movie of small wins, right? These are small scenes. There's nothing big. There's no big scenes in this movie. It's all small things, and that you gotta keep your eyes and ears peeled, right, Eric? It's kind of like,
I for what it is, I think it's a perfect film. Just from start to finish. It's just and the more times I've seen it, and I always wanted to do it. We had it on the list for years since but seeing it again, I watched it again, and I think I watched it like 4 times now. Yeah. I just love it. Yeah, it's slowly creeping up the ladder of favorite films. Like it's
it's
and especially now with Rob Reiner's passing. It's just what better way to just enjoy his legacy.
Pay homage to him with his first with his first one. Nick, any final thoughts, Nick?
I just, like you said, there's so many scenes like I want to talk about, like when they're at Elvis Presley's grave and they're trying to harmonize, Heartbreak Hotel, which is the only song they could get the rights to do.
I found a new place to dwell, and then like, no, wait, no. Since my baby left me, and then like, just forget it. Like they try to make it into a thing, like because it's being filmed. Like let's
it was supposed to be some like great homage or something, like some tender moment for Elvis. Couldn't
pull it together.
And then just like they're talking about stuff, and then it ends up being this hilarious punchline. Like they're like talking. Well, there's this isle off the coast of the Isle of Lucy.
Or the one I like is when they after Nigel left and they're playing at the park. He's like, we're not going to do a jazz exploration in front of a festival crowd. It was like 20 people. It was like at a great adventure. It was like at an amusement park with a festival crowd, as if they were like at Woodstock or something. It's like,
oh my God. And it's it's a puppet show. This is
and Spinal Tap
was not billing.
Yes. I told them 100 times. This is just brilliant. If you've never seen it, watch it. If you've seen it, watch it again, because it's just brilliant. Yeah. It's a brilliant film. Right. It is the best of what comedy is when it just rolls off, not overthought, they rolled the cameras and they pulled the best of what they had, which is also a good problem to have. Is you've got all this stuff. It's like, well, we're just gonna go through it and whatever takes were really good or whatever worked, we're gonna construct. And they, like I said, they had their loose plot line, and as long as they got from A to B, that's all they needed to do.
That's right.
Because like Eric said, then they can cut to some concert footage, show them playing a song, and then they dip back into other interview footage, or they're somewhere else, or they're at the next gig that's canceled or whatever it is. So just a brilliant execution of it.
And you could tell they had a good time with it. Tony Hendra, who played Ian Faith, I read in his biography, he said that he attempted suicide right before he started this movie. And he said it was this movie, the fun he had in this movie, that kind of like brought the joy back into his life. So as I was researching, I didn't know that story until I was researching this.
Yeah, he did pass away though, right? Tony Hendra?
I think so, but in his book, whatever.
Later.
Yeah. But that just shows you like how, Rob Reiner and these actors, they bring joy to their work. And, it's like, the world is full of dark things, as we can see by, Rob Reiner's passing. But this movie brings joy to people. I think people watch this and they see it. And even the people who were doing it, obviously, it changed their lives, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tony Hendra died in 2021 in Yonkers, New York.
Wow.
Local.
Wow. Yeah.
So, I think that's going to do it. We cannot have this episode be longer than the film. So we gotta cut it off. Yeah. We absolutely need to put a ceiling on it, but I think that's going to do it. I think this is one of the most effusive episodes I think we've ever had, where all of us are just in total agreement and total gushing about it. Which,
it's a great movie.
It is. You don't have to actually. If you don't like rock and roll, you might like this film because it's not glorifying any of that, and you might find the humor in it then, or you might find that some of the notions you had are validated by watching like a mockumentary about it. That things that you assumed are true about rock bands are actually in this film. So you might get a little serendipity there.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to do it. It's available on all the streamers. It's been released a couple times. I have the original Criterion, but like Eric said, they went back and they did another Criterion version of it, which I don't know if that's ever happened before, where they re-Criterion something with additional.
Well, they did with all the different formats. I think this is one of the first. It was on Laserdisc when they first came out with Laserdisc. It's one of the. I think it's number 7 or 8 on. There's the spine number on it. So it's one of the original releases that they ever did, and with each format, they never changed the spine number. So it's still one of the early releases. I'm so glad that it's back in the collection. So it's great.
That's going to do it. Nick Leshy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. This was fun.
Yeah, again, we'll drop a link in the show notes. You can check out Nick's activities in his podcast world as well. So go check that out. Again, give him when you watch his video, go ahead and like it on YouTube and then subscribe so you get to know when the new stuff is coming out. And of course, Eric and I will be on our comfy chair. I'll be on my comfy chair. He'll be on his comfy couch as we usher in 2026 and bring you a whole nother 52 weeks of music and movie goodness. Who knows what we'll bring into the new year, but I guarantee it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm guaranteeing and I'm hoping and wishing and praying that we see Mr. Nick Leshy throughout the year as well. It's like Christmas every time Nick comes on the show.
And I think this is a good opportunity to invite ourselves again on his show.
Maybe. Yes, we are ready. We are ready
to do a Rocky and Bullwinkle episode.
My son loves moose is like a big thing, like we couldn't get a Christmas tree this year. So he has this giant stuffed moose and they put lights around it.
There you go. Yeah. See, how do I know? I'm connected.
You're connected.
I'm connected. So that's going to do it for this episode of 3324 Podcast. You can follow us or continue the conversation on Instagram, Facebook, and or YouTube, whatever your choice. Pick your poison. We're on all of them. We will respond to you. If you're in the podcast app of your choice, there's a little fan mail thing. You can send us feedback. We can't respond to that, but you can certainly let us know how you feel as well. We appreciate it no matter how you do it. And yeah, thank everybody for joining us throughout 2025 and earlier, if you've been with us that long, and going with us on this journey. And we're going to bring you more in 2026. So we're looking forward to that. Eric and I are going to get into the laboratory. We're going to put the white jackets on, put the goggles on, fire up the Bunsen burner, get the beakers going, and come up with a whole bunch of new episodes and a lot of fun stuff to come up with in 2026. So for Nick, for Eric, this has been Dean asking you, please be kind. Go ahead and rewind.
You've been listening to the 3324 podcast with Dean Legiro and Eric Kuber. You can find us on your favorite podcast provider, so please like, subscribe, and rate to become a part of the 3324 family. Your feedback is important, so make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at 3324 podcast and on Twitter at 3324p to join the conversation.